to be fighting on the White House card. I mean, he announced it.
Deal signed, delivered. It ain't a negotiation.
Wow.
McGregor will compete in the White House.
Michael Chandler announced it. They went on Fox Sports. They've been all over the place talking about it. Michael Chandler's been sitting around like a good little boy for about 3 years now. Well, he ain't going to be on the card, right? Dana White came out recently and said they've kind of moved on from that.
I know there's like all the talk of Michael Chandler and Conor. Do you see like that as like a realistic thing happening?
No, I mean, that was a couple years ago.
And I get it.
The rumors are confirmed and the debate is officially over. Conor McGregor is set to make his return at the White House event, and the entire combat sports world is about to detonate. Despite 3 years of Michael Chandler sitting around waiting patiently and doing everything the UFC asked, Dana White came out and made it clear that Iron Mike is not on the card. That confirmation is not just a scheduling update. It dramatically narrows the pool of potential opponents and shifts every serious conversation toward who the notorious one actually faces on this historic night. The deleted tweet was the signal everyone needed. He posted that he had been offered an opponent and he accepted, that he was waiting on his contract, and then it vanished almost immediately. The most logical reading is exactly what it looks like. He got the offer, agreed to the opponent, got excited, tweeted before he was cleared to say anything publicly, and pulled it the moment he caught himself. Whether the deletion was deliberate or accidental is irrelevant, because the effect is identical either way. Maximum anticipation, zero official details, and every MMA fan on the planet locked in and waiting.
Okay, he got badly beaten by Paddy Pimblett and he's been struggling to win fights. Entertaining guy and I wish him all the best and I look forward to his next fight. But it ain't going to be against Conor McGregor. But Conor McGregor, according to his recently deleted tweet, he's back. He's coming. He's on.
I'm coming!
What did he say? He said, I have been offered an opponent and I accept.
Michael Bisping's point about McGregor not needing to generate interest is the most important thing said in this entire conversation, and it needs to be heard clearly by anyone who doubts the scale of this return. There are people out there saying his time is past, pointing to the losses, pointing to the leg break, pointing to the years away, and every single one of those people is still going to be watching on fight night. That is the specific gravity of Conor McGregor. He is the only fighter in the history of this sport where even the critics, even the people who want him to fail, cannot look away when he walks into a cage. His return at the White House card is not a question of whether it becomes a colossal event. It becomes a colossal event the moment his name appears anywhere near the official fight announcement, regardless of opponent. The question is not whether people tune in. They tune in. The question is whether the opponent chosen delivers a storyline worthy of the most historically significant fight card this sport has ever attempted to stage. And the answer to that question points in one specific direction when you eliminate the ranked contenders and focus purely on what the White House moment actually demands from a matchmaking perspective.
That he's telling the truth, that he got the offer, they've agreed an opponent, and he was very excited, so he tweeted about something, then he was like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to say anything yet, or whatever, so he deleted it, okay? And obviously, it's a nice little PR move, it generates some interest for Conor McGregor, and the interest for Conor McGregor, he doesn't need to generate interest, let's be honest, okay? Everyone is still very much gonna tune in. There's a lot of people out there going, oh yeah, he's had his best time, you know, he lost his last few and all the rest of it. Bullshit.
Jorge Masvidal made his intentions completely public. He went on record saying it would be a great honor and made clear he does not care whether the opponent is the leprechaun rumored or anyone else they put in front of him. Gamebred came on the podcast and stated directly that he wants that fight, and his eagerness is not manufactured for camera time. It is the authentic competitive hunger of someone who knows exactly what a White House payday looks like. Masvidal versus McGregor is an immediate blockbuster because both men are built to entertain. Both men carry knockout power in their hands, and both men have the specific kind of charisma that makes casual fans stop scrolling and actually watch. The stylistic matchup delivers. Two elite strikers, both with violent finishing ability, both with the showmanship that transforms a fight from a competitive event into a cultural moment that people reference for years afterward. Unlike a matchup against a ranked contender that requires McGregor to navigate elite wrestling or a grinding game plan that neutralizes his advantages, Masvidal is a stand-and-bang nightmare scenario that plays directly into his strengths. If the goal is a spectacular return performance that gets McGregor back to winning ways while generating the kind of highlight that lives forever, Game Bread is the name that keeps surfacing at the top of every serious conversation.
Bullshit.
This is #1 bullshit.
Conor McGregor's fighting on the White House card. You're all going to tune in. Everyone's going to tune into the White House card anyway. But the question is, who is he going to face? Now, I'm going to throw it out there. Yes, Jorge Masvidal was calling him out recently. I did a video on that. Masvidal came on my podcast, Believe You Me. If you don't watch the Believe You Me podcast, what are you doing with yourself? Call yourself an MMA fan. If you want to watch some good content and have some funny laughs, okay, tune in. Me and Felder, we run a good show. Masvidal came on. He's trying to get that fight, okay?
So for me, it'd be a great honor, man. And whether it's that leprechaun rumored that everybody's hearing or it's King Kong, I don't get brother.
But Nate Diaz, that is correct. Stockton's own, king of the face slap, whatever you want to call him.
I don't give a
I don't give a either. I don't give a either.
Then Nate Diaz entered the conversation, and everything immediately escalated from exciting to historic before a single punch has been thrown or a contract has been signed. Diaz said publicly he is coming back, that he has unfinished business, that this generation of fighters is all garbage, and he intends to come in and take over, which is the most Nate Diaz sentence that has ever been spoken. When someone asked him directly about the White House card, his response was a casual, "That would be dope too," delivered with the specific Diaz energy of someone who genuinely does not feel the magnitude of anything he walks into. That response is perfect, not choreographed, not calculated, not managed by a PR team, just Nate Diaz being Nate Diaz, which is exactly the quality that made their first two fights the most watched in UFC history. The series sits at 1 apiece. Diaz shocked the entire world with the submission at UFC 196. McGregor came back and ground through a war at UFC 202, dropping him with leg kicks and left hands, while Diaz made him fight for every second. There was even a moment in the second fight where McGregor was backing away from the pressure, visibly fatigued, because Diaz's pace and durability are the kind of thing that cannot be fully prepared for no matter how good your training camp is.
He was talking recently, and he said that he's coming back. He's got unfinished business. He's going to take over, that this generation of fighters, they're all crap, and he's going to come in, take over. He's got unfinished work to do.
McGregor 3, I want to fight maybe Dustin Poirier if he's subject to the pussy, and then maybe Makhachev. Let's see what happens in the future, though.
And someone said, what about the White House? He's like, oh yeah, that'd be dope too.
Yeah, the White House would be perfect.
You're the man.
Now, we've talked about this many times. Of course, Diaz and McGregor, they are 1 apiece. When he choked out Conor McGregor, and of course they fought again, Conor came back. It was another great performance. He dropped him with leg kicks. He dropped him with every left hand that he threw. But it was a war, and Diaz made him work, and Diaz even had Conor running away at one point because he was getting a little bit. That one's being promoted by Jake Paul and MVP, Most Valuable Promotions. That's going down on Netflix, right? But the White House is going down, and Conor McGregor, I think, will be fighting on it, and Jorge Masvidal would be a good matchup, okay? I'd rather watch that than Michael Chandler, respect.
A third fight between McGregor and Diaz at the White House is not just a fight. It is the culmination of one of the most compelling rivalries this sport has ever produced, delivered on the largest stage in UFC history. The storyline writes itself, without any marketing required. Two of the most popular fighters ever to enter an octagon, 1 apiece, years of unfinished business, the White House lawn, 100,000 people in the surrounding area, free on broadcast television. Every variable that produces historic viewership is already present before the fighters even begin their respective training camps, and the number that results from that combination would shatter every record the promotion currently holds. Bisping stated it plainly and correctly. A third fight with Nate Diaz would definitely blow the roof off the White House lawn, and that level of certainty from someone who knows this business as well as anyone alive means something concrete. The MMA world has been waiting for the rubber match since 2016, waiting through the Khabib era, wading through the Poirier losses, wading through the leg break and the recovery and the years of silence, and the White House is the exact stage that justifies the wait. No other matchup available to McGregor right now carries the combination of historical weight, competitive drama, fan investment, and mainstream crossover appeal that the Diaz trilogy delivers without needing a single additional ingredient.
Anyway, let's get back to Nate Diaz, right? We know that Nate Diaz, when we look at the record in the mixed martial arts world, of course, last time he beat Tony Ferguson, that was his final fight on the record. And before that, he lost to Leon Edwards, went to a decision, did rock him in the 5th round and then gave him a point and started laughing. And before that, doctor stoppage against Jorge Masvidal, something to get the fans really, really excited about. And of course, it is a bit of a throwback. And they do have unfinished business. Now, of course, there is unfinished business for Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor as well. Of course, Conor McGregor would love another crack at Dustin Poirier because in the second fight, he got knocked out. And in the fight after that, well, he was losing the fight, but he broke his leg and stuff like that. So there's definitely unfinished business. And Dustin Poirier is training again, okay? I don't know if he's training for a comeback, but he's not training like I trained this morning in the garage, hitting the bag and stuff like that, going for a run, lifting weight.
Dustin Poirier has to be part of this conversation because the unfinished business between him and McGregor is built on a foundation of genuine personal stakes that extends far beyond a professional sports rivalry. Poirier knocked McGregor out cold at UFC 264 in their second fight, and then in the third fight, McGregor was losing the bout before his leg snapped on a checked kick, and the fight ended in circumstances that satisfied nobody. That specific ending, not a finish, not a decision, just a medical stoppage with the outcome genuinely unclear, is the kind of unsettled score that follows fighters into retirement and drags them back out again. The report of Poirier training at American Top Team in Florida on the mat with world-class fighters is not the training of someone who is casually staying in shape or maintaining a hobby after a long career. That is the training of someone who has the itch, the specific, incurable fighter's itch that every retired competitor describes as the thing that makes normal life feel insufficient once the elite competitive environment has been taken away. A fourth McGregor fight with Poirier at the White House carries massive personal stakes, a legitimate story of redemption for one side and revenge for the other, and the proven track record of delivering fights that people pay to watch repeatedly.
He's looking at becoming a champion again. Of course, he would love to become a champion again. Of course, and he could potentially achieve that. It's not going to be easy against Ilia Topuria, but I think what he wants to do is come back, fight on the White House card. Of course, make a ton of dough, right? Get back to winning ways. Get that feet outside of that. I mean, Michael Chandler's ranked number 13. There's Renato Moicano at 10. There's Dan Hooker at number 8. He wouldn't be a bad stylistic matchup for Conor McGregor, but I think it's going to be like an old school throwback and something big and something that's going to blow people away. Dustin Poirier would do that. I think Jorge Masvidal would do that. And certainly
the ranked contenders, Renato Moicano at 10, Dan Hooker at 8, the names that make sense from a pure divisional standpoint, are not the answer for an event of this specific magnitude and historical significance. This is not a fight that needs to make sense in terms of rankings or title implications or the logical progression of a championship chase inside the lightweight division's current competitive structure. This is a fight that needs to blow the roof off the largest, most ambitious, most historically significant event the UFC has ever attempted to stage, and that requirement has a very short list of fighters who can deliver it. Bisping framed it correctly as an old-school throwback, something big, something that blows people away, and that criteria eliminates every ranked contender from the conversation before it even begins. The White House event is already guaranteed to be watched by people who have not purchased a UFC event in years, people who do not follow the rankings or the division, people who only know the names that transcend the sport. Masvidal, Diaz, and Poirier all transcend the sport in the specific way required. They carry backstories and personalities and fan bases that extend into the mainstream audience the broadcast deal on CBS is designed to capture. The broadcast situation transforms the entire commercial ceiling of this event in a way that changes the calculus for every decision being made around it, including who McGregor fights and what the fight card looks like. CBS and Paramount Plus simulcasting the card means there is no paywall, no additional purchase required, no barrier between the casual fan who has not ordered a fight since 2016 and the most anticipated return in combat sports history. The hardcore fans were always watching, regardless. They would have found a way to access this card from the surface of the moon if that was the only option available to them. But the casual audience, the people who watched McGregor versus Diaz twice and never ordered anything before or after, the people who know his name from mainstream culture rather than from following the sport, those people are now one click away. Luke Thomas identified this as the specific variable that makes the event potentially the fastest-selling and most watched card in company history when the right matchmaking is attached to the free broadcast infrastructure. The wrong opponent on a free broadcast produces a big number. The right opponent on a free broadcast produces a number that resets the entire conversation about what is possible for this sport at this stage of its commercial development. McGregor's motivations for this specific comeback are not complicated once you look at them honestly, without projecting championship aspirations onto a fighter who has been out of competition for years. He wants a massive payday, he wants to get back to winning ways and feel that competitive validation again, and he wants to prove to himself and to every doubter that the ability is still there and the left hand still ends fights. That combination of motivations points directly toward a specific type of opponent, not the number one contender who would require a perfect performance to defeat, but a proven name who guarantees spectacle, generates the narrative, and lets McGregor operate in his wheelhouse. All three names on the table, Diaz, Masvidal, and Poirier, serve that purpose while each delivering a completely different storyline with completely different stakes and completely different emotional weight for the audience watching. Diaz is the trilogy and the unfinished business of a decade-long rivalry. Masvidal is the new chapter against a fellow striker who has never faced him before. Poirier is the personal score that never got properly settled. Any of the three makes the White House the event Dana White believes it will be, the most watched in company history, but only one of them has the specific combination of history and urgency that makes people feel like they cannot miss the moment. The Nate Diaz option is the correct answer when you apply the only criteria that actually matters for an event of this scale. What is the single matchup that generates the most genuine emotional investment from the widest possible audience? Not the most technically interesting fight, not the most relevant from a divisional standpoint, not the most logical from a rankings perspective, the most emotionally loaded, the most historically significant, the impossible to ignore. Diaz and McGregor won apiece, years of separation, the trilogy fight that the entire MMA world has been waiting for, delivered on the White House lawn with 100,000 people in the area and a free national broadcast reaching every household simultaneously. The canceled fights, the retirement, the social media exchanges, the Stockton slap era, the ongoing declarations of unfinished business, all of it has been building toward a moment exactly like this one. When Bisping says it would blow the roof off the White House lawn with the confidence of someone who has been around this sport long enough to know what actually moves the needle at the highest level, that is not hyperbole. That is the accurate commercial and emotional assessment of a matchup that has been waiting for its conclusion for nearly a decade and finally found a stage worthy of the story it has been telling since UFC 196.